Is martial law what's coming next? I will start here. Today we can see that finally many people have come to realize what is really going on in the world. They have seen that something is definitely not right. And now we can see that many people are starting to rise against this madness. And it seems very encouraging, of course. But why is it that we are only seeing this now? Many manifestations have been going on since early 2020. Maybe most people were too busy or distracted to see what was going on. And of course, most of these manifestations were well hidden from the news and social medias. But today, the manifestations can be seen and shared everywhere. And most of all, they can be talked about and joined by whoever wants to. They are starting to make a lot of noise, and many people are talking about them. But be careful, because you see, this is exactly what they want. They want people to know and to see that there is many worldwide manifestations going on. And they also want many people to join. Why do you think that is? Well, it is because they want these manifestations to get as big as they can. So that way, they can eventually call them riots and civil unrest. Please don't think blindly that this is finally the people taking power into their own hands. Because it's not. This is all being done on purpose by the ones who pull the strings. They have pushed people to their limits on purpose because they wanted and they knew that this would end up by happening. You should know by now that everything is planned in advance. I know what you might think. Why in the world would they want this to happen? Well, it is simply because this will enable them to reach one of their final goals, which is to declare martial law. By written law, there are only a few things that can officially permit them to declare it. There is natural disasters, civil disorder, or civil war. In this case, they would say it's civil disorder. They will say that people are not respecting the laws and that they are rioting and causing grave disorder. And then they will be free to declare martial law. And they will say, of course, that it is the people's fault. They will blame it all on the people, just as they always do. You see, this is why they would need to install martial law as quickly as they can, because it would enable them to annulate these laws, and it would permit military commanders to give orders and enable them to make new laws without anyone's consent. Well, it's not like they cared much about our consent anyways. You see, things like this are already happening today, because they are preparing us for what is to come next. Just look at this. Look at these descriptions of what happens when martial law is declared. Martial law in times of civil disorder. Martial law involves the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule and is usually invoked in time of war, rebellion, or natural disaster. When martial law is in effect, the military commander of an area or country has unlimited authority to make and enforce laws. Further, martial law suspends all existing laws, as well as civil authority, and the ordinary administration of justice. Nonetheless, within the bounds of court decisions, a military commander's authority under martial law is virtually unlimited. The historical application of martial law. It generally results in the partial or total suspension of the citizens' fundamental freedoms, in particular, that of assembling, manifesting, and not being imprisoned without a judicial basis. So you see, this means that they can do whatever they want. So we should definitely do anything and everything we can to prevent this from happening. But sadly, right now, we are not. We are doing the contrary. We are doing exactly the things that will enable this to happen. What we should do, we should rather, on a large, worldwide scale, just refuse to obey the orders that are being enforced on us without our consent. We have the right to say no, and many already have. I know that many people are afraid they will lose their jobs, but you must know that already many people have. Many doctors have refused to comply, no matter the consequences. They are no longer permitted to exercise medicine. But if it is to do it under these circumstances, many just didn't want to anymore. And believe me, if we do things correctly, the ones responsible for forcing this on us will be held accountable. I promise you, it is better to lose your job now by refusing to obey, rather than to live in a world where your job will be useless anyways. Imagine under a communist and warlike martial law world, jobs will not be worth anything, and many will no longer have a job anyways. So if we just refuse to obey their orders, no matter what happens, only then will they start to lose their power over us. Don't you know that the only power they have over us is because we are obeying them?